So I must have been sleeping under a rock or something, because apparently 2 weeks ago, Genshin released a 1-minute preview showcasing the new region in 5.0, which is Natlan, the Pyro region. How on earth did I miss this? And more importantly, why am I not seeing more people talk about this? Because just from this short 1-minute teaser, it gave us so much to talk about that I don't understand how the whole internet hasn't lost its mind yet. I mean, to be fair, I think the reason the teaser went over everyone's heads was because Genshin just released Chlorine and the whole internet is busy simping for her for obvious reasons. And if you want to find out why, then I made a whole video explaining why you need Chlorine. So you should probably check that out. And while you're at it, it would be very nice if you would subscribe too, because on this channel, we just discuss Genshin every single day of the week, and point out things you may not have noticed. That's just code for I sim for every new Genshin waifu that comes out. You're welcome. But anyways, back to the Natlan teaser. It basically showcases these 3 new creatures that you can transform into, and I had people referring to them as mounts all over the internet, but I can't lie, this is the furthest thing from the truth. Or at least in my opinion, and let me explain. Traditionally, in other games, mounts usually only have one purpose, which is to go from point A to point B in a slightly faster fashion, and they usually provide no other benefits. Think of it like your horse in Skyrim, or like those weird mounts in World of Warcraft, but I haven't played World of Warcraft. But yeah, it just moves faster and it climbs mountains, vertically for some reason. A horse can climb a mountain in Skyrim. Don't question it. But the reason why I don't like to think of these new Natlan creatures as mounts is because they clearly serve more purpose other than just traveling faster. I mean, yeah, they do make transportation faster, but they serve much more purpose. Like, it's obvious we're gonna need these creatures to do puzzles and quests, because we see their unique skill set in the trailer. And also in other games with mounts, you'd see your physical character riding the mount. Like in Skyrim, your character's riding the horse, or in World of Warcraft, your character is riding the dragon. But let me ask you a question. In this new trailer of Natlan we just saw, do we ever see the Traveler riding these monsters? No, we don't. Instead, the Traveler is nowhere to be found. And let me explain my wild theory, which is that the Traveler will transform into these creatures to do specific puzzles and exploration. Which reminds me of a game called Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, where similarly, the main character would transform into monsters to do specific puzzles. But I'll explain more of that later. For now, let's get back into the trailer. The trailer opens and we see these 3 symbols, like each one referring to the new specific monster you can transform into. We got a rock monster, we got a water monster, and we got a grass monster. Clearly it's Dendro, Geo, and water. The Geo monster we see in the trailer is just a rock monster. He can go underground, climb walls, jump out of walls, and he turns into a massive drill, like the drill wisp in Sonic Colors. I don't know why, but it just reminds me of that. Just look at it, they look 1-to-1. So yeah, rock monster, pretty simple. The second monster we see, which is the water monster, it's just a fish that can travel through water and lava, which is pretty cool, but how doesn't he burn alive when he's traveling in lava? Like, that's not normal, dude. He's gonna have some 3rd-degree burns. But yeah, he can do these cool dolphin dives in and out of the water, and he travels up this vertical jet stream of lava. So you know what? Pretty cool. Cool movement. And lastly, we see this green chicken monster that shoots out its tongue to grab an orb, and then it uses its tongue again to grapple between different points. And I can't lie, these grapple points look exactly like the grapple points we saw in Sumeru, so it's not real grappling, it's just press a button to go into a new key. But it looks like you can aim it, I think. I don't know. I'm not getting my hopes up. Hopefully you can actually aim it and use it for more unique traversal other than just pressing a button, but who knows. But you can't tell me that these are just mounts with no other purpose, when we obviously are going to have to use these a lot in Natlan. Like, each region has its own unique mode of transportation. Liyue had... What did Liyue have? I don't think Liyue had any. But Inazuma introduced boats. Sumeru had the weird grappling thingy on Fontaine. Fontaine added the entirely new diving mechanic. So yeah, each one had its own unique gimmick. And clearly with Natlan, we're gonna use these creatures a lot. That's the new gimmick. And I can't lie, as I mentioned before, this just reminds me heavily of Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Since in that game, you would go around collecting these different masks, and each mask transforms the main character slightly. But there were 3 main masks that really transformed you. You had the Goron mask, which is basically the rock monster we saw. It just turns you into this giant rock monster. He can just roll around, punch boulders, super strong. He got the Muscles, you know, Pretty simple, but clearly that's the rock monster they took inspiration from. Second, you had the Zora mask, which is again basically the fish monster we saw, and his whole thing was that he would dive around in water, and he looked pretty cool. He's blue. Turns into Sonic the Hedgehog, and he gets super tall. And lastly, you had the Deku mask, which transforms you into this tiny Deku, which is like this little plant monster thing, and he looks depressed, just like me for real. And he can fly around from these little, like, holes in the floor, which reminds me of the green chicken monster that can grapple with his tongue. Yeah, these are pretty good similarities, I think. So it looks like Genshin is again borrowing heavily from The Legend of Zelda, since, Genshin was already at first a Breath of the Wild clone, with the whole movement of climbing everything, and you got the wind glider, and also the art style. These games look identical. Well, they used to. Now Genshin has made its own identity, which is good. And I can't say that I'm surprised that Genshin just keeps copying from other franchises, since, they recently released their new 4-star character, Sethos, who's basically copied 100% word for word from another hugely popular Nintendo Switch game. Is this a coincidence that Genshin keeps stealing from Nintendo games? Who knows? But you should probably go and watch that video I just talked about where Sethos was stolen from another game. And you go do that while I go take a nap. Good night.